Now, Bradley Beal had did a sit down where he gave us insight on his transition going from the Washington Wizards to the Phoenix Suns. And interesting enough, he spoke about how the Wizards made that decision for him and how Miami was his preferred destination, but Mickey Arison did not want to pull the trigger due to future salary cap implications. But Bradley Beal this season has been put in the same position as Damian Lillard, where they're stars in the league, but they've finally been put in position where we could see what they could do at the highest level. But Bradley Beal was definitely approached by the Washington Wizards' new front office, and he gave insight to how they just kind of straight up told him, hey, it's time to make that transition. Let's see what he had to say. Let's go to ChatGPT.
When I realized it was time, it probably wasn't until Wizards had a new front office in place and we had a very straightforward conversation about the direction in which the team needed to go, Beal said. And probably for the first time, that is, when I would say, this past summer is when I fully accepted it is time to move on. As crazy as it sounds, it definitely was like a gut punch. But at the same time, it was uplifting. It was uplifting to know that the organization that I dedicated my career to kind of gave me the pat on the back and saying it's okay to go seek a trade and go where you feel like you can compete. And so, that's why I always respect Washington, because I wouldn't be where I am today without their help and their facilitation and everything. I needed the push, and it was because I was probably going mad over there and just trying to make it work and figuring it out. But to actually hear that, honestly, probably from the first time within that organization, it was an eye-opener. The decision was made for me in a way, and it kind of eased the process.
It's almost like the John Wall situation fully didn't work out, and them not being able to recoup any draft picks kind of left the franchise in flux when they just had Bradley Beal left over. That's why this past offseason we've seen the importance of recouping after your star leaves your team. In the case of the Portland Trail Blazers, they made sure to secure their future with Damian Lillard leaving that team. And Beal also spoke on Miami being his preferred destination, but the Miami Heat, even though being a large market, their owner Mickey Arison has always operated that franchise from a mom and pop standpoint. And it seems like they did not want to pay the price to have Beal, or they thought possibly Beal could not move the needle like that for the price that he was at, especially with that no trade clause.
So, my initial favorite was Miami. And so, we call Miami. Pat Riley says, well, I'll go talk to Mickey Arison and figure it out. And I respect and love every team, but a lot of them just couldn't do it because the money was just so high. And with our new CBA and the luxury tax, a lot of owners just was like, we don't want to get hit over the head with that. And that's a respectable decision. If I was the ownership and I'm pouring in billions of dollars, I want to make sure we're getting a championship out of it too. I'm like, okay, what's Miami doing? Dragging feet. And eventually it came to a point to where Miami said they just can't do it. But it was an eye-opener for sure. And that's why I said I went into everything kind of open-minded and with an open slate. And out of nowhere here comes a dark horse in Phoenix, and their aggressiveness pushed me over the top. Milwaukee was very close in the running as well, but they were going to make some moves that I didn't necessarily like in the trade, too. So, I guess that's the beauty of having a no-trade clause. You get to have a little bit of say-so in the deal. Having so many teams pursuing me so hard was really cool. But in the end, man, it ultimately just felt like Phoenix picked me.
Now, a few things I want to point out. First of all, Bradley Beal having that no trade clause kind of left the Wizards in the same position that they were in when they traded John Wall. They were still unable to recoup assets for their stars. This seems to be a going theme from the results of the previous front office. And with Phoenix just over pursuing Bradley Beal, I wonder if it has a lot to do with the owner purchasing that team for $4 billion, and he's making sure that evaluation stays up. As we've seen it play out with Giannis re-signing his extension, the new owner of the Bucks was definitely pressed that Giannis stayed with the team. As the previous owner, rumors were circling around that he sold the team because he thought Giannis was leaving and he was afraid of the evaluation going down. So a lot of these teams that already have stars, that net worth is tied to that star being there. So it's very pivotal that when they're trading away stars or just stars are getting ready to go, that they get an asset back for them. They get first round picks back or just something back to secure that future. So going back to the Heat, from what Beal is saying, Miami continued to drag their feet on this trade, and they eventually dragged their feet later on that summer with the Damian Lillard trade. I'm wondering what's going on over there. Once again, their owner operates that franchise from a mom and pop standpoint. Damian Lillard and Bradley Beal's price tag is really high. I'm wondering if that scared Mickey Arison off. But just going on to the future, it's going to be very hard for Mickey Arison to compete with a lot of these new NBA franchise owners because they're going to want to keep these evaluations up and they're not going to be afraid to dip into the tax for a season or two. But Beal mentioning Milwaukee, this is interesting. Let's go back to that.
Milwaukee was very close in the running as well, but they were going to make some moves that I didn't necessarily like in the trade, too. So, I guess that's the beauty of having a no-trade clause.
I wonder if right there he rejected the Milwaukee trade. And remember, this was a few months before the Damian Lillard trade. It seems like once Milwaukee's offseason kicked off, they were looking to shake shit up. But once again, with the Wizards, unfortunately, they were unable to really recoup any assets when they traded away their stars. Bradley Beal's no trade clause came back to bite them in the ass. And due to the situation with John Wall, they were unable to recoup any real assets for him due to the fact that he was coming off an injury. But Bradley Beal this season, we're going to see what he's made of. He's going to be performing at the highest level along with KD. So we're finally going to get to see how Beal performs in major, big playoff situations.